Okay, well, I'll get going here. Thank you everybody for joining. I'm John. But without further ado, since it's a very busy Monday, I'll hand it over to John. John, take it away. John, all you, bud.
Oh, thanks, buddy. So
Yeah.
thank you very much, John. Thanks, Sovereign. Actually, it's a little bit informal kind of how I got here. We were just having a conversation about something completely different last week, and I said I was looking forward to this, and John asked me to be a little bit more involved, which I'm always happy to do because I find that Sovereign as a portfolio has great brands, but brands that always have a great story and great people behind them. And we've already looked at this presentation that we're about to go through that Julio and Eduardo put together, and it really is phenomenal. And I think it goes above and beyond kind of what founders of most mezcals would do. But to put this together just to educate us all on Day of the Dead, I think is it's just fantastic. So it speaks to them, it speaks to Los Siete Misterios, and it speaks to Sovereign and John as well. So that's phenomenal. We did just go through the presentation again. It really is amazing. I've been, for any of you who don't know, I've been a brand ambassador for several tequilas, and I've worked on several independent tequilas as well. And you'll find that key days come around, and you get kind of us North American white folk that get very excited about National Margarita Day and National Tequila Day and Day of the Dead. And the brands get very excited as well, and they push all of this programming out around these concepts. But my home office. But hey, excuse me, this is being recorded. So sausages. But anyway, hey. It's Julio, Eduardo, over to you. How about that? So anyway, a lot of these brands, they really push out the programming around the Day of the Dead, but a lot of us don't really understand. Hey, Evie, that's good. A lot of us don't really understand what it is, and we're about to. If you go to the Anthropology Museum in Mexico City, just do a little research online, you'll see that there is this whole thing around Day of the Dead, and I'm super excited we're going to explore it. I'm going to go with this. Over to you guys.
This is priceless.
Live programming at its finest,
Yeah.
eh?
Take away, Lalo and Julio. It's all you.
Okay, great. So, like John said and Johnny said, it's really a pleasure to us to make this small presentation about what Day of the Dead, a small part of what Day of the Dead might be in the Mexican culture. Not only the Spanish, what Spanish brought to Mexico, but also what was before the Spanish. As you know, Mexico is one of the Latin American countries in which they adored different gods, like God of Rain, who is Tlaloc. We have God of Death, God of War, accordingly to what has to be homaged. So that's what they did. So once the Spanish came, it all reduced to one god, and everything else was meant as a heresy. So here we're gonna go through the pre-Hispanic culture and how it managed to make us a mix between what Spaniards came and what we had, and that's why it was really easy for the pre-Hispanic people and the indigenous people to have all this Day of the Dead in 2 different dates. We'll also talk about the altar, what is in the altar, and different aspects of what it is to us, and also to how we relate that pre-Hispanic culture and that modern cartoon of death into our beautiful labels and our brand. William? So if everyone's ready, shall we begin?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, great. So I hope everyone can see this presentation.
if everyone if for some reason there's any technical difficulties, just drop that information in the chat and we can try and help you through the private channel there. But looks like everyone can see.
Yeah, it's great on this end.
Yeah, you see them all? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we will start with a little small Nahua poem that goes like this. Sometimes the hummingbird, sometimes the crow, sometimes the owl tells when it's time to go. For us, the Mexica don't die. We just change home, we change bodies, and every year we will return here. So this is really like a really beautiful Nahua poem in which they tell us about life after death. So it might be, and it tells that we don't really cease to exist, that we change bodies, and we keep returning with the people that we love. ¿No? Está viendo.
Eduardo, we just need to move to the next screen. There it is. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I saw. Okay. So that's the Nahua poem. So this is the index what we will be reviewing. That it's an introduction of what it's the culture of death in pre-Hispanic times, the European influence and mixed traditions, what it's in an altar, and also the Katrina and Los Siete Misterios labels. So the current custom corresponding to Day of the Dead, it comes from the pre-Hispanic times. It was not only a guidance to all the dead to be in the proper space-time space that they needed to be in, because according to the Mexicas, there are 4 places of death according to the type you have, and according to that, you can reach the freed soul of your body and then move into another body. And also, it's how the ritual it was made for all the humans, and to make that catharsis of keep in mind with the dead people and reminded it every day in every action until we are totally resignated that they left, but they will be alive in our spirit and in our memories. So it all comes from all the different cultures in the Mesoamerica area, that it's the Mexica, Mayas, Purépechas, Totonacas, Zapotecs in the state of Oaxaca, who made only offers not only to their gods, but also to their dead, because sometimes that they believe that honoring the dead, they will have several benefits in their harvesting, when they go to war, when they have to order something. And also to keeping present the memory of the people who just passed away. In that matter, they think that death, not as something dark, something really bad, as a type of God in which they have to some homage in different times. For example, in the Mexica culture, they believe that the Mictlan, which is the pantheon of the Mexicas, there was this god of death that it's Mictlatecutli, and also the goddess of war, Mictlatecihuatl. In the Maya mythology, it was the Kisin, the Stinky, and Yulkumil Hunahau, and it's the god to the underworld, that it's a skeleton with the face of a jaguar. So in all the pre-Hispanic cultures, they are dead in different ways, but we will focus in the Mexica one. This is a small map on how the cultures were living. We have the Zapotecs in the region of Oaxaca, that is where our mezcal is made. We have the Olmecs in the Gulf of Mexico, the Mayas. We have the Toltecas in Hidalgo, and the Mexicas or Aztecs. That it's important, and it's like funny data to know that The Aztecs was the name previous to their installment in Teotihuacan. Once after they installed, they changed their name into the Mexicas. That is the people of Mexico. So one of the writers, many people like Toribio de Benavente, known as Motolinia, wrote about the Mexica calendar, wrote about their costumes, and how they cried and they offer flowers to their dead, and up to 4 years. That is when this celebration finished. And I'm gonna read it. In the understanding that the dead were not objects of forgetfulness or contempt, as they were remembered by dedicating special days to them in which they cried, offering food and flowers for them in their graves. This they repeatedly, periodically, until the 4th year after death, when this demonstration ceased. So we can see here that in the Tonalpohualli calendar and the Aztec culture, they used to have these customs to adore the dead, what they only did for 4 years. We're gonna look after in the presentation why it was only for the next following 4 years, and after that they ceased that. So we can see here that at the Tonalpohualli, that was the Mexica calendar, had 260 days in which there were at least 6 celebrations dedicated to the dead. Right now we have only 2. Well, so for the Mexicas, it was the funeral that was the celebration, or the thing that standed out of everything, because it was the closure. But beside the funeral, there were other honoring the dead that had to follow with the time of death, that lasts for 4 months and then for 4 years, in order to celebrate the dead and to have this catharsis to resolve of all the pain that they had living. So during the 4 months and 4 years that follow with death, different ceremonies were also performed on dates and according to modalities that depend on the way in which person had died, and therefore the place in underground, which was he was heading. So we had 4 different places in which they could go according to the type of death. So it's, as you can see, it's really interesting how they approach where do you go, because what Catholicism has teaches is that you go either to heaven or hell, but it depends totally on how you were in life. Here they don't mention anything about how you were in life. They only mention how you died. So you might be like a really good person, but if you died as a regular guy, you go to a certain type of place. If you were like a really bad person who stole, a thief, or anything, and you died drowned, then you go to a certain type of place. So it's not about how you live your life, it's how you die. The first place we have is Mictlan, that it's the most common one. This is the people this is where goes all the people that died by an accident and they don't have any special mission in the earth. So according to the sacerdotes and their believings, if you don't have any special mission, you go to Mictlan, which is a dark, obscure place in which you have to go through 9 different steps in order to get your soul freed from your body and then transmutate into another living being or stay in that heaven you are living. So here we have the gods and goddess of death, that it's Tlatecutli and Mictlantecuhtli, representing all the dead. Then we have Tlalocan, that is the place of Tlaloc. Tlaloc is also our god of rain. So to this place go all the people that died of drowning, got struck by lightning, or also had a skin disease. Then we have the Tonatiuh Huichan, that is the house of the sun. This is where all the people that that were a warrior and died in the battle, they go, and also the woman who died giving birth their first child, as they were considered as warriors. So they say that after 4 years after they died, they became or reincarnated into mortal birds and fed with the nectar of the flowers in the gardens of Tonatiuh-Chan, the House of Sun. And also they could go down to earth. That's why in the poem we have the example that I can return as a hummingbird or as an owl or as another type of bird. Last but not least is the Sincalco, that is the house of corn. And children who died in their tender years go to Sincalco. But also the babies or the child who were still nursing, they go to Chichihualcuhuaco, that it's where a tree with breast are there and still feeding them. So this is known as the house of corn. So for this is what this is only like the explanation on how they divide the places where the dead go. But on top of that, there is a really complex ritual that it's composed of 14 steps that will help not only the dead to reach the place they need to be, but also to help the living to forget what or to assimilate the dead, and that the person would not be anymore with them on this living. The first part, it's the moment of death and its disclosure. So they hire, or not hire, but the elder woman of the town, they come to the house and they start to cry and scream out loud, so that they can create the atmosphere of death and of losing someone. So people can start now the affective catharsis of losing that person. And I mean, I think everybody knows the feeling, how you feel when you cry for something, that you feel relieved, you feel like the pain it's a little bit less. Then we have the crown lucky Scott, that it's called the Piochtli. This is really funny because in Mexico, when people has like the goatee and they really leave it like a little bit long, we call it here piocha. That it's that name, it's identically to Piochtli, and now I can see that where the piocha nicknames comes from, and comes from the Piochtli. That it's when they cut this part of their hair in the back, and that's where they think that the Mexicas, that your soul was kept. So they cut this strand of hair 2 times. The first one is when you're born, and they keep it in a wood box, and the second one is when you die. So that they mix it with the jade bead, that it's the body, the blood and bone, and the tonali are brought together. So in that box, they think that it's your soul. So they also believe that the gifts are going to be tools that will help you out to be in the other side. So when you are in your journey in the clan or any other space time, it will help you to honor the gods that were there and try to bribe anyone who can stop in your way to reach the place you need to be. Then we have the preparation of the corpse, that it's a cleansing. So unlike the indigenous of South America, in the Mexicas weren't trying to preserve the body. They only cleaned it them and leave it like a really impeccable for all the cremation or the burial that took place 4 days after they died. So the idea is to preserve the body for 4 days, and on the 5th day they either cremate the body or they bury it. Then we have the shroud, that they uh, uh, wrap up the body with their common attire, personal attire, or either they do it in blankets. So it was up to the rank and to the level that each dead person had. The richer you were, the more things that you would have. But the poorer you were, then it will only be your attire. Then we have a speech of death, that is like any funeral right now. that it can be on two sides. One is that the priest tell the speech to the people so they can feel comfort. There are comfort words. And another one is that really close people of the deceased, they go to step in front and give like nice words of the people have just died. That it's a farewell to all of them and say the farewell to the deceased one. Then when everything is once they have done this and the body is ready, it's like the velatory. Is it velorio, Julio? See, it's the velatory. So they give, they sing songs, and the dead was fed. So this ritual is called Kishokoqualia. From there we go exit from the house to the funeral pyre, that it's in the case it was cremated, or either to the cemetery to be buried. So, like I said, it was two different ways of finishing it. That it's a cremation and also the burial of the dead. That it's believed that that the common people or masehuales corresponded the burial, because they suppose that the cost of making a cremation was too expensive and they cannot afford it. Cremation applied essentially to those who have a cosmic mission on Earth, that is, kings, priests, and warriors. So any of those three types of people were the ones that get cremated. And also on a mythical level, the path of the deceased towards the Mictlan is the same, but the consummation of the corpse by fire god adds an element of sacredness while following the exemplary model. Then we have the sacrifice of servants and slaves. If they were a king or was a really rich people, they used to sacrifice their slave. They sacrifice an amount number of slaves that it could last up to 4 months. That is when this that is a number that has been referred several times during the presentation. So they call them Tepantlalkin, and others Texpan Mikistecuicatl. So the one and the other means those who went after the dead to keep him company, and that's to not leave the dead on its own luck when it goes to the other side. This is really important, and it's I think has a lot of people have heard of it. That it's the sacrifice of a psychopomp dog. In the case of the Mexicans, it's called Xolotl. Xoloscuincle, it's the breed of a Mexican dog that it's hairless and it's a gray, even up to black one. So the idea to sacrifice the dog is that they sacrifice the dog of that accompanied the deceased one during his life. So they think that this dog will help the deceased if he goes to Mictlan, to help the deceased to cross all the 9 levels and to reach the final level with Micotecihuatl and Tecutli. So he gets his soul relief and freed from the body.
The color of the dog is very important, because if you ask or you sacrifice a black dog or a white dog, they won't take you to the other side of the river. It has to be a brownish colored dog in order for him to help you to cross the river and along your path to Mictlan.
Folks, at this point, I've just got a couple of questions before we move on from this. First of all, why would the color be relevant in the dog?
Well, it's about their costumes, because they don't think that it's black and white. They think that there has to be colors. So the idea to have a white or a black dog, it might be like a presage of bad luck. And to have it on the other side, it wouldn't help you to do it, since it was considered bad luck.
And you said as well earlier on that the way that an individual died relates to where they end up afterwards. So we've got here, if a lord passed away, then the servants and slaves would be sacrificed to go with them. Would they need to be, if the lord drowned, would the servants and slaves then need to be drowned to make sure that they all end up in the same space?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, either any type of death will be necessary to sacrifice some servants and some slaves to accompany his lord into the other side. It
And would
doesn't
that
matter.
be something that they were willing to do? The
Well, it
slaves?
wasn't optional.
Yeah, well, that does make the decision
No,
process easier when there's no
yeah,
choice.
and also we have to consider that the fact that uh, they think that dying or being sacrificed is like the ultimate type of dying that you could have. So it was an honorable death.
Right.
So one of the best deaths you can have, it's either dying in battle or being sacrificed. I don't know if you have heard of the juego de pelota. That is the ball game that used to be with the rubber giant ball, and they play with the hip. So they try to. It was like a pre-Hispanic basketball. So they try to pass the ball through a giant circle, and it was funny because the team that wins, they were sacrificed, and the team that get lost, they keep playing, and the team that wins, they feel like really honored of being sacrificed in the name of the gods.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's really intense and really interesting how we think and how we live accordingly to what they teach us in terms of religion. For example, right now we can say that being a priest or being in the like some kind of the church, it's an honor, even if you have to resign to a lot of things that regular people could have. So it's the same sacrifice you made, but it changed or mutated to a different level. Instead of dying uh, as a person, you die in life to serve and honor other priests and a god. But at the same, it's the same thing to give your life in the name of others and for a different benefit.
Okay.
¿Puso triste? So from after that we have the Kitonaltia, that it's given to good luck. So the Kitonaltia, it's something that they do to reinforce the tonal or the soul of the dead, so he can have all the stamina and energy when he crosses to the other side. So it's one the jade stone and the haircut of birth and death are gathered in the urn. Then we have the burial, that is after all this process, they're gonna bury the ashes with the hairlock and also the head stone into a hole called Otstotl. And then they ritually remove it again and put it in a matrix Tecali that had to regenerate them. So all this last after this it goes for 4 months. From there we go to the duel. That the duel it's gonna last up to 4 lunar calendar months. That is when they give and they learn more about the hell. And after that, they're gonna make ceremonies for the dead for the next following 4 years. So as you can see, the number 4 is really present. That it's 4 days after they die, they bury it. 4 months, it's the time that lasts the duel, and 4 years, it's gonna be the time that they're gonna make celebrations of their death. So this is how the Kitonalti and all the ritual looked. So like I said, according to the modalities of death, mourning is different because in general terms, it not only helps the deceased to reach the place that correspond to him, but also allows a true catharsis for the family or the group reached by death. What is done in the Christian world through prayer is done actively in the indigenous world. In general terms, the lunar phase of mourning, 4 months, and the solar period of 4 years correspond to two purposes. The first is cathartic in nature and concerns the community affected by the loss of one or more of its own. The second, with an eschatological character, seeks to facilitate the access of the deceased to the place of death that corresponds him. So it is two different approaches. One goes to the family and to related people, and the other one goes strictly to the soul of the deceased. Now, from the funerals by which the journey of the deceased from life to death was ritually carried out, once every year for 4 years, celebration of the dead were held on dates of the year that correspond the date, the type of death, and consequently the place where they go. These celebrations were registered in the calendar as Michaelwitontli, Way Miquetlahuitl, Tepeilhuitl, and Titul. And were parts of a duel that looked to facilitate the veneration of the big. Those who went to Mictlan were celebrated in the month of Tilitl, that is the month of aging. And it's a celebration made up by a figure of deceased of ocote sticks and paper. Those who went to Tlalocan were remembered in the Festival of the Hills, Tepelhuitl. Those who went to Tonahuichan were celebrating during 2 months of the indigenous calendar. It began in Michaelwitontli, the small festival of death, and ended in the month Hue Micaltihuatl, that is the great festival of death. Here is really important that we notice that we have here two different names that goes, one is the small festival of the dead, and the other one is the great festival of the dead. So according to the Motolinea and other people that were writing and making some research about them, they sometimes mix it up because they couldn't translate to Spanish what they are saying. So this is what the translation would mean. But after reviving and studying it again, they noticed that it was the festival of the small death and the festival of the dead. So here we have two important dates that will move across time and culture in what we have today. Those who went to Sincalco, the House of Corn, were celebrated at the Michaelwitontli, that as you can see, the children and the babies who died went to Sincalco House, and they have the same date as Michaeltuontli, that is the one they mentioned above. So here we have like taking for granted that the Michaelwitontli was the celebration for the small dead, and then the Hue Michaelhuitl was the celebration of the grown-up dead. We're gonna take a look into Mictlan because it's where most of the people go. The other one have paradise for granted, as you could see in the previous, because Tlalocan were housed. We have the House of Corn, we have the House of the Sun for the warriors. So as their dead were really important, and the houses where they were going had paradise kind of look like. So all the regular people that went to Mictlan, they have to earn their free of the soul. So here we can see that the Mictlan, it's a place that goes into the Tlaltectli, that is the god earth, and then we have to go to an infraterrestrial journey that it's made up of 9 stages with specific obstacles and other torments suffered by a corpse in its organic regression towards Aztlan. So the idea is that when they begin and when they go out, they're gonna live what they were humans, and only their soul will survive and will transcend into the next level. This process lasts a period of 4 years until reaching Mictlan, where Mictlatecutli and Mictetasihuatl will release the soul from the body it inhabits. So here we can see once again that that's why they only honor the dead in the celebration for the 4 years after the mourning, because it's the time that the dead needed in order to reach to reach a final stage of Mictlan. If they stop it to honoring the dead in those 4 years, then the dead might be stopped and couldn't cross all the stages that they need because their soul would be really weak and couldn't make it. That's why they make the Kitonaltia to reinforce the soul power, and they do all these offerings and all these gifts so they can have all the time and stamina to go through the 9 stages. The first one is Apanowaya or Itzcuintlan, that it's a place of dogs. So it's a river of black water to pass. So in this, they need the help of the Xolotu, that was the psychopomp dog that they sacrificed in one of the 14 stages, and they buried the bones with the deceased. In the next one is Tepectli Monamictlan. Here the souls or the body would pass between 2 mountains that repeatedly collide between them. So in this area, the air and the same energy is going to strip off their clothes of their deceased. The next one, sorry? No? The next one is Tepetu, that the soul must walk through 8 obsidian hills, eternally lashed by the snow. As you can see now, this is the decomposing of the corpse, and as it goes through, it's gonna lose parts like an arm, like a flesh, and everything. But it's never gonna lose the bones, because the white of the bone, it can last up to 4 years. After that, it starts to decompose. But the idea is to maintain the white of the bones up to 4 years. Then it goes to Itzecaycan, a place where the razor wind blows. The soul continued its way through the region with cold wind howls, and it continues to deteriorate all the flesh of the corpse. Then we go to Paniacatacoyan. That is said that this is where bodies floated. They have no gravity, so they floated, and this same gravity is gonna drag the remains of the flesh and other organs into the soil. Once they go through, they go to Timiminaloyan. That is the place where there are arrows. So from different sides, arrows are gonna to attack the corpse. The idea is not to avoid the arrows. It's to be strong enough to support those arrows and to let them do what they have to do. That is to eliminate all the remains of flesh and human body that the corpse and the deceased has on it. After that, it goes to the next step, that it's Teocoyoacayua or Teyoyocualoyan, that it's a place where beasts feed on hearts. So jaguars open the ribs of the deceased and they eat their heart. After that, they go through the almost the final step, that it's Mictlan Apochcalocan. That is where they have to cross the water. Again, they have to cross the same water they crossed at the beginning, but then the Hichitonal iguana awaits them. So here the Hichitonal, or the iguana, the lizard, it's gonna feed on the deceased if they are not ready to go to the next level. On this level, basically, what you needed to do is to be freed of everything what make you of your human. You have to be released and freed from all your human essence. And finally, we go to Chicoanamictlan, or Mictlan, that is where the dead man goes to cross the 9 waters of Chiconahuapan. And once this last obstacle was overcome, his soul will be freed from the sufferings of the body by Mictlatecutli and Mictlatecihuat. So during these times, the living here on Earth, what they were doing is to pay tribute and to celebrate their deaths in the corresponding day calendar and the way they died, in order to they can reach this last step. This is a speech from a priest during the ritual of funeral. And it's, "O son, you have already passed and suffered the labors of this life. Our Lord to take you has already been served. because we do not want to do not have permanent life in this world, and briefly, like one who warms himself in the sun, it is our life. Our Lord made us at the mercy that we knew each other and talked to each other in this life, and now, to the present, the cult called Mictlatecutli, and by another name, Aconnahuacatl or Tzotzensomok, took you, and the goddess who calls herself Mictacasihuatl has already put you for your seat, because all of us will go there, and that place is for everyone and it's very wide. And there will be no more memory of you. And you already went to the very dark place that has no light, no windows, no more return or live there. Nor do you have to be careful and solicitous of your return. After being absent forever and ever, you have already left your children, poor and orphans and grandchildren. You do not know how the work of this present life will end or pass, and there will go to where you were before a long time. So it's really nice how they put down in words how to reflect and how to give the consolation words to all the family and relatives of the deceased. So that basically is it's all for the Mexica Aztec ritual. I don't know if you have any questions about it.
So we have Eduardo. I'm just looking at this now. There was so many cultures in pre-Hispanic America. You know, if we go back to the map that you had here, you know, we've got the Toltecs, the Aztecs, the Olmecs, the Zapotecas, Mayas as well. Just big cultures, and for the most part, they're under a collective of their language as opposed to a lot of traditions. Everything we've covered here. This is centered around and the idea of the Day of the Dead. Is that rooted around any specific area at all, and any specific? Some of the language you're using here is just absolutely fantastic. It's such a beautiful language. I can't even get my tongue around a lot of these words. It just doesn't translate to my English tongue, but it's just such a wonderful language. So I'm just wondering, where is this rooted on the map, the present day map of Mexico? Where are we looking at right now?
Right now, we're looking at the Mexicas Aztec, that it's Teotihuacan.
So this would be around kind of Mexico City, Jalisco?
Yeah, no, only Mexico City.
Okay.
Yeah, let me go back a little bit.
Yeah, the map that is showing, I think it's from Jalisco and down all the way to Cancun and Riviera Maya.
And they would have completely separate traditions around Day of the Dead, or the idea of death and passing and an afterlife in the Mayas and around that region.
Yes, we have to also to note that the two main cultures or tribes or armies that ruled on Earth were the Mexicas, Aztecs, and the Mayans. Those were the most significant ones. But beside that, there were the Zapotecs and the Toltecas, Totonacas, and Olmecas. But it's what like the Roman Empire. It's the territory that they covered. So these guys influenced on all the red zone that you can see. So a lot of their customs were taken by them. It's like a coming attack, conquer, and all you believed in, it's now time to forget it and adopt the new ideas we bring. That's why the Aztecs and the Mayans were the most influenced cultures in Mesoamerica. But they were initially in Mexico City, that is Teotihuacan. Have you went to the Teotihuacan pyramids?
Not yet.
Not yet? Well,
no.
The story says that the Aztecs were wandering around the pre-Hispanic Mexico, and they had this vision that a voice told them in a dream that they should make their installment and settle in a place where they see a snake, an eagle, eating a snake in the top of a cactus. So once the Aztec found that, it was in Teotihuacan, that it was a lake. So once they found it, they knew they have to install there, and that's where they begin their Mexica period. So the Aztec was the name of the wanderer tribe, and the Mexica it's the name of the empire which stayed in that area. That's why they built the pyramid of the sun, the pyramid of the moon, and they have all these channels of Xochimilco to move along and do all the moving and transportation. So that's why the eagle eating a snake at a cactus, it's a symbol of our national flag.
Right. Great. It's amazing how that all connects.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you could, if you was to hit that little green button on the top of the screen there, if that would make everything full screen, just on the top left.
This one?
Yeah.
Looks better?
It looks different. Maybe not. Maybe not better or worse, just different. I think it looks okay.
I'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, I think at this point we're committed to having the stuff around the borders, but I love it. Yeah.
So from this, then we go to all these that we have. It's what some priests, Spaniard priests, and some writers and investigators have deciphered of the codes. There should be some minor changes on the names of the stages, on how they celebrate death, but basically it's what it is. So one, the Spaniards, there are some writings that found that before the 1500s, they still did these celebrations of the dead. So when the Spaniards settled in Mexico after the conquest, the festivities of All Saints and of the dead faithfully were definitely integrated into the liturgical calendar. They are celebrated among Spaniards, and like other Christian ceremonies, are soon carried out in evangelized indigenous communities under the control of the Spanish clergy. So from the first moments, the indigenous cult of the dead, already forbidden by the friars in their pagan version, and the Christian festivals of the dead will syncretically fuse, gradually generating by the typical Mexican festival of death. So as you can see, and has says in the text, the celebration took friendly. It was like a cultural shock because the Mexicas already had two different dates of celebration. That was the small festivity of death and the great celebration of the dead. So it's a binary articulation of the celebration of Day of All Saints and Day of the Dead. That it's the 1st and 2nd of November. In the 1st of November, they celebrate the children and the elderly, and the 2nd of November, we celebrate all the other dates, and those are the dates that are marked in the calendar and have survived in the Spaniards occupied Mexico. So it's really short and really simple how they did it. It's not something like no details on how that was made. It was either you do it our way, or if you still do those pagan festivities, then they burn you or they kill you or sacrifice you or whatever to do in paganism. When they preach the Christian religion. And from there we go to the altar.
Any questions so far?
I know, but I will kindly point out that we have about 15, 20 minutes left because I know there's a fair bit to go, and Then
Don't worry.
we'll leave some extra time for questions. So heads up.
All right. So building an altar is very simple and it's very basic. So we're going to cover some part of how to build your own altar and what does it mean and what elements do you need in order for you to stand out and have the best altar on Dia de Muertos. So basically the altar it needs to have different levels that represent the cosmovision and the material world. There are different type of altars. There are usually 2-level, 3-level, or 7-level altars. In the 2-level, we basically represent heaven and earth. For a 3-level, we represent heaven, earth, and the underworld, which would be Mictlan. And in the 7 levels, it's more the conventional one in some of the in outside Mexico City, and it represents the 7 stages that the soul has to pass to achieve the eternal rest. This is an example of an altar. As you can see, there are different elements that we're going to cover and we're going to explain. Or basically, what you are trying to achieve is to pay a tribute to the deceased ones, trying to put together a beautiful altar and also put things that they love and they used to drink or they used to eat a lot. So the elements for the altars would be the arch that we see before. That one is made out of bamboo or carrizo, and you can also build it with flowers, especially with cempasúchil, which is the orange flower that we saw before. And that one, those type of flowers, they only grow in October or November, and that's why they use it for Dia de Muertos. And the story behind these flowers is that they came and they only blossom on this time of the year because they want to invite all the deceased ones, and it's easy for them to spot them and to get to the place where the altar is. Another element would be you need to represent the 4 elements, which is wind, fire, water, and earth. To represent the wind, you can use the papel picado or paper mache. To represent the fire, you can use candle lights. To represent the water, you usually put a glass full of water so that because the water is going to help the deceased one to rest the thirst that they have. And to represent the earth, you can put some seeds, some fruits, and you can they also make some drawings out of corn and cacao in the ground. This is a illustration or a diagram of the 2-level Dia de Muertos altar. So as you can see, you have the picture of your loved one, the mache paper, the flowers, water, the skulls. For example, in my case, I always build an altar for my deceased dogs and also for my grandmothers and grandparents. My grandmothers used to love to drink cubas. So I always put a cuba for her in the altar, and she always liked it with a lot of rum and a little bit of Coca-Cola. So I always put one of those in the altar. And my dogs also always put some treats, some fruit, or whatever they liked. In the case of my grandparents, they all used to love mezcal. So we always include a bottle of Siete Misterios and some shot glasses and stuff like that. So the flowers, as I mentioned before, we use the cempasúchil, the amaranth, and nube, which are the most commonly used ones. We also put some skulls that they are usually candied or chocolate. And those skulls are more to mock the ones that the people that is still living, and we mock of them by putting the name in the forehead of the skull, the name of the people that it's still living. We put the food that they used to like a lot. We also put the drinks, and as I mentioned before, and we put any personal objects that they like their favorite clothes, some accessories, their favorite watch or necklace and stuff like that. And sometimes we also put some dog sculptures of the Xolo in order to honor the god Xolotl, and because it's the dog that is going to help you cross the river of its Quitlan.
Julio, there is often we see, we've got a great image of it here, this is perfect timing, some marigolds. And I heard a while ago that the marigolds act as a light to follow.
So that is about the altar. I don't know if you have any questions regarding it.
The marigold? Marigold. You know what marigold is?
Marigold? In Spanish?
Marijuana? No? That's not it.
That's the marigold.
Yeah, that.
Marigold.
This is one of these.
So that's marigold?
Yeah.
Looks like cempasúchil.
May well be.
Yeah.
May well be lost in translation.
It's cempasúchil.
Yeah, that's right. It is here. And I heard that a purpose for these flowers specifically, because there's so many of that specific flower everywhere, that they act kind of as a light and a beacon to follow. Is there any truth in that?
Yeah, it is. It is true, and that's why they use it, because you want to attract, and when you put the altar and during the Day of the Dead, or the Day of the Dead celebration, there is energetically, there's a portal that opens on that time of the year, 1 week before, and it closes 1 week after. So the idea behind this is that when this portal is open, then you can attract all good and bad spirits. The good spirits are the ones that is your family and your loved ones. So you want them to not lose the path, and you want to stand out so that they can find you, because they don't know where they are going, especially if you move from one place to another. So the idea is to put this type of marigold flowers everywhere, and to spread some in the entrance of your home, and not to close the door of your home or leave an open window so that they can enter your home. And you also have to be, it's common that you are at your place, because the dead ones come to visit you. So if you're not there, there is no point for them to come out and not be with you. And there are different types of celebrations in Mexico. For example, in Michoacan, that is a lovely one. I haven't been, but they go to the pantheons, cemeteries. They go to the cemeteries, and this time of the year is when the mariposa monarca, the monarch butterflies, they transit from Canada into Mexico to pass the winter. So the idea behind that is that all the souls of the lost ones are into those monarch butterflies. So they come and visit all the cemeteries, because there are a lot of flowers, of marigold flowers over there. That's why they also put it there. And in Oaxaca, for example, where we stayed the last Dia de los Muertos, people is outside, it's at their places, and they make huge festivities and huge parties. When you put, everyone opens their doors, and all the neighbors from Mataplan, for example, where we were at, they go around with masks of people, so or demon masks, so they can mix between the deads and the living. So they don't know if you are a ghost or not. And you can go into the different houses to have a drink, to party. There is music involved, and it's a very, very great festivity. So maybe it could be like a good trip to do next year if COVID is over.
Sounds wonderful. And is there, we have a great image of an altar on the right here, and we had a great question from Daphne that asked if there were representations from multiple people on each altar, and Eduardo in the chat addressed this and said that you can have your whole family. But is there a hierarchy on any of these altars? Is it kind of generationally per level?
No, not really, but know that I know of. But if it is, maybe you put your parents or your grandparents at the top, and your mascots at the bottom. Remember that the importance is more than on the day of the celebration. On the 1st of November, you celebrate all the children. On the 2nd of November, you celebrate all the deceased. And on the 3rd of November, which is not very common, and people doesn't talk a lot about it, but you celebrate all your mascots, your dogs, cats, any other mascot that you have.
It's lovely.
Any questions?
Feel free to put any of the questions that you'd like on the chat, and then Johnny or Lalo or I can pick them up. But otherwise, yeah, keep her going. Well, we have about 20 more minutes that we have allotted on. So is there a little more that you have on the go here?
Yeah, we're almost done. We just finishing. I mean, we wanted to focus in the pre-Hispanic one because I think it's really interesting, complex, and it's I also think that some of the Spaniards, when they conquered, they saw that it was like a really beautiful custom and ritual, so they copied some things that we have here, although they wouldn't share it or accept it in public because it was paganism. So now we go to ourselves. So as all you know, we use the Catrinas and all the dead matters into our label. So this is one of the things that we've always wanted. Once we have the name, once we have the liquid, we needed an image that reflected that Mexico that we love and that Mexico that really identifies us. I remember that 12 years ago, all of the people were into tequila, into mariachi, into spring break, into donkeys, into sombreros, and all that marketing things that were thought of Mexico. I even make a trip to Chicago in 2000, and they asked me if we have pavimented roads. So it was really, really funny how a lot of people have this preconceived image of Mexico, and that's why we don't want it to reflect. So we started to make some research on Day of the Dead, on the Catrinas and everything, and we got into Jose Guadalupe Posada, which is a contemporary art designer and graphic designer that was inspiration to a lot of really known painters like Diego Rivera, Frida Kahlo, Jose Clemente Orozco, and all that contemporary artists from the 20th century. And he made some social political criticism and also made some illustration of skulls. But it's funny because he only made it for the Day of the Dead to a local newspaper, and it was one of the drawings. Here are some of his work and his workshop. So we can see there that this is like the skull that it's enchanting and hypnotizing all of them. That it was his criticism to the government because the government had hypnotized to all the people. So some of them were more classic, were more funny, and he had like a really different illustration. So all of them was made in engraving, It's a linoleum cut. Linoleum. I think it's linoleum cut. So they cut it in a piece of wood, and from there they put some ink, and then started to place it on the paper. So it had sometimes some texture, and that's why it looked like this. But it was this is called the one on the bottom right. That was a criticism to the indigenous people that say that they wanted to forget about the roots where they come from, and they wanted to be European. So that was the first time that Jose Guadalupe Posada for the first time put the female attire on the skull and the female look. So her name was Fifi, and also known as Catrina Garbancera. So this was made around the late 19th century, but it was Diego Rivera who took it around 1943 that he and made it in his work A Sunday Afternoon in the Center in Alameda, that for the first time he gave the Catrina a full body painting, and it's what the Catrina represents us. We can see that in one of the sides we have Jose Guadalupe Posada, and there is Diego Rivera as a child. In the back we can see Frida Kahlo, and this is the full masterpiece. So this is the first time that Diego Rivera, gave the full body to the Catrina, and it's what we know as the Catrina right now. So we took Posada as an inspiration, along with all the traditions of the Mexican culture, the legends, the mezcal, the process, and that's when we decided to create our own story and start the journey of Porfirio. That Porfirio is the guy in the middle with the black hat. Who Porfirio starts a journey. He's from Tequila, Jalisco, and he will start a journey through the world of the agave, and more specifically the world of mezcal in Oaxaca. So through all the labels, he's gonna meet up to different characters and different people that are going to teach him more about the agave. They're going to say that the famous saying that all tequilas are mezcal, but not all mezcal are tequilas. And he starts to learn more about it. So he runs into really different persons. So here we have this texture in the clay pot distilled ones that it's emulating about the craving that Jose Guadalupe Posada made. So that's how, and all the multicolored and all how this is the Maestro Mezcalero using the Venecia to measure all the ABV. And finally, Porfirio goes through his journey until he reaches out to be a truly mezcalero. That's why he's sitting in an agave throne with his xolotl, and also there's a bat, and there's the Venecia, different things that are part of the Mexican culture.
This is awesome.
And what is this one?
Which one?
The Phoenix.
It's a quetzal. Quetzal is an endemic bird of Chiapas and also Central America. So this is our version of the pechuga. As you know, we make a sacrifice of a chicken, hen, or a turkey breast, turkey in order to make this third distillation. So we wanted to play a small tribute to the bird we are sacrificing, and making, instead of a regular phoenix bird, to make a quetzal phoenix, which is reborning from the same agave we also cut to make this bottle of mezcal.
That's amazing. We just commented on the chat there, actually, John and I. There's a restaurant here in Toronto called Quetzal, which is just one of the most incredible and well-researched Mexican restaurants you'll find in most places in Canada. It's really wonderful.
There's a lot of Siete Misterios there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is wonderful. You know, I looked at the different labels and I've seen a narrative in there, but I didn't realize what it was. And this to me is just fascinating. What an incredible brand story this is. This really is quite beautiful. One on a purely selfish note, I do have my coyote here. Can you explain to me what's on this label?
Well, the story is that the woman in the barrel and in the coyote, they are sisters. So there's gonna be like a love triangle tragedy because Porfirio is in love with the woman of the coyote bottle, but the girl in the barril bottle is in love with Porfirio. But so there is like a tragic thing there, and the idea here is to pay tribute to the woman, because when there was the prohibition that was during the 20th century, because of the occupation of the Spaniard, it wasn't allowed to produce any spirit, and also 19th century and before, any spirit in Mexico. So then the agave grows in from the south north of Mexico all the way to South Mexico. So what the men did was to create improvised distilleries. They went to places where they have agaves, they chop it them, they distill it them, and they, in the damajones, the small damajones of 5 liters, they put some mezcal, and the woman place it in their belly, and they wrap it up with the cloth or the rebozo, and they go from town to town selling those mezcals. So if there was like a military retain or any other authority searching in the population, they thought that they were carrying either a child or they were pregnant. So they go all the way through that retain and go to the village and sell the mezcal.
Wow.
So women played a really important role in all the commercialization of the mezcal during the prohibition.
Wow. It's amazing just seeing them all there kind of in front of you.
So, there's before we go any further, and I know I've been getting a couple private messages saying keep going, keep going. I'm very happy that everyone wants to keep going, but I know people have to get on with their day, and at the top of the hour, we're all going to go cheer Tiffany on to try and send her to Mexico. We do have some special bottles to give away as a thank you for everyone joining us. I think the easiest way to do it, or the way that we've been doing it, is to do a little keyboard trivia. So everyone get ready. Julio, you're okay to ask a couple of trivia questions, right?
So.
We'll see about it. I mean, it's really the fairest way to do it and see how much people are paying attention. I'm kind of belaboring a little bit because I just want people to get ready. So hopefully you can type fast. No cheating. Don't have Google up on the other screen. But if you're paying attention to the presentation, you're probably gonna get a little rewarded. But Julio, what is everyone? We're gonna ask 2 questions. But what are they winning today? Terrible thing. So.
They are gonna win a fabulous mezcal. The first ones to answer the first 2 questions, I think, they're gonna win a Dovalle bottle.
No. They're winning. They're winning one of the new ensembles.
Okay.
that
we haven't told anybody about yet, that we're just telling the whole world about right now.
This might be your window.
So we're going to be launching a new product that is shipping out of Mexico this week. And there are going to be new ensembles made in copper pot alambics. And it's going to be a blend of different types of agaves. The idea for this product was to have a more affordable product than to have a product that is only tepestate, for example, and to have it available for everyone, so that you can start to train your palate and try to understand the flavors in those type of mezcals and try different ones. So we're going to be launching three type of ensembles. The first one is going to be Espadín Quiche. the second one is going to be an espadín tempestate, and the third one is going to be an espadín mexicano.
And that's why it's taking so long to get this next container over here, right?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, so we're gonna give 2 of those away, and then the third one we're gonna give to John because he's so kind and has helped host.
Pleasure,
So
thank
we'll
you.
let but you're okay taking third choice, right? So you'll I'm sure you'll taste them all eventually. So we have an espadín quiche, an espadín tempestate, and an espadín mexicano. And these are, as Julio said, they're all copper pots. They are probably reasonably, by the time I get my hands on them and circulating them around, hopefully right in time for the holiday season, you'll have them. But afterwards, get in contact with Evan if you do win, and he'll take your information. So first one to answer on the chat will win one of these bottles that we don't even have labels of yet.
Now, John, let me jump in very quickly. Everyone, make sure that your chat is centered on everyone as opposed to someone specific. Otherwise, you might send John a private message and it won't count. You missed your chance.
Alrighty, take it away, Julio.
Okay, the first one is going to be an easy one. How many levels are in Mictlan, which is the underworld?
Oh, Eric.
Whoa.
Wow, the first advice incorrect is Daphne.
Daphne. Oh, perfect. Daphne wins. Daphne.
There are 9 different levels or stages in Mictlan.
Daphne we'll connect with you later, and you'll be able to first choose a bottle. Okay, question number 2. Oh, Julio, are you frozen there? Oh no. Oh,
No. I was checking with Eduardo which is going to be the next question.
How long has your beard been growing?
COVID.
Right.
Oh no, I wish.
But it looks great.
It's been growing for probably 2 or 3 months.
I love it.
I'm getting ready for winter.
Yeah.
Even though we don't have any winter here in Mexico.
By the way, this is why John had to host. Otherwise, we just go podcast. All right, staying on topic. Number 2. Julio, you're on mute. Lalo, you're on mute.
Yeah, give me a sec.
I love it. And by the way, for those in Western Canada, don't worry. We never run out of Tobaye. There is more. There is more coming.
What was the name of the place where all the drowned and struck by a lightning death cause went to?
Well, it's going to be a tough one.
That's really tough. I don't even know what the name of that place is.
Julio, weren't you paying attention to the presentation?
I did, but I cannot pronounce those names.
That's great.
A clue. It's ruled by the god of rain.
Oh my goodness.
Monica.
Oh, Monica got some. Oh,
Monica.
Yeah.
Wow.
Perfect.
Bravo, that was amazing. Right? Well done.
Wow, amazing. Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
Eric wanted to say Tonatiuhwichan, that it's the house of sun, and the house of sun is where the warriors and women who died during birth were going. And Tlaloc is the god of rain.
I love it.
Well done. That's brilliant. And what a beautiful language.
Yeah. Questions? A couple more. Any last questions for? No. I know someone wanted to sorry to jump in, John. I know someone wanted to know the entire Porfirio story. But we'll have to save that, I think, for another time. There's a question from Scott. Who are the mezcaleros making the ensembles? Oh, I mean that Lalo and Julio would know who they are.
It's Mario Cruz and Justino from San Dionisio.
Yeah, what we are trying to do here with ensembles is to work with different type of producers or mezcaleros in the Matatlan, San Dionisio, and other regions or areas around. So they're gonna be the ones making the ensembles. We work with them by making different type of mixes on trying to figure out which type of percentage was enough of the wild agave for each one of the ensembles. So we were trying a lot of mezcals in order to come up with the new ensembles.
And Julio, on that note, the ensembles themselves, are they, do you mix the different kinds of agave together before you cook them, or do you follow through with 2 final distillates and then blend them?
Before we cook it.
Okay.
And I'm going to jump in here now, guys, too, just while everyone's still on the chat. There is still one more chance to win another bottle. Stay tuned to our social channel or to Sovereign social channels. And we are going to be kind of doing a little contest, essentially seeing how everyone's going to be celebrating the Day of the Dead themselves. And it'll be kind of a social media contest. And I guess I can say it on here, but not in written form. But there will be another bottle to be given away.
Ooh.
And now you have the toolkit of how to do it properly.
Yeah, please send pictures of your altars. If you make any altar, please send your pictures.
I love it. Okay, yeah. If I'm starting to get DM'd some some more questions, but unfortunately we're out of time. Please fire anything off via email. I know we didn't talk about mezcal production that much. That's a totally different seminar. We'll do a different day. There's lots of permutations, but I thought it was really important to talk about Day of the Dead. I'm really honored, Julio and Lalo, for making such an incredible presentation. And John, I can't thank you enough. I don't know sometimes where Sovereign would be without you. And then our incredible team in the back, Evan and Coley and Deja. They've done such a fantastic job putting all these up this year. If you go to Sovereign's YouTube channel, this will eventually get posted up on there, as well as all the other digital spirited sessions that we've done. Sort of stumbled onto something really cool here, and we'll see about even when COVID stops, about continuing to do these sorts of seminars and storytelling times in the future as well. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Hope to see everyone at the top of the hour. And if there's anything else, that's peace. Oh, you're waving by. Okay, got it. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Lots of love.
Take care. Thank you.
Have a good week.
Cheers. Bye.